Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a review on something that you guys have requested me to review, and that is the new Fenty Beauty Pro Filter concealers. I am super excited for this package. Now in here we got the concealers, the foundations, the setting powders, the makeup sponges, and the brushes, and then she gave a really nice cute little compact mirror as well. Now I'm obviously going to review the concealers, that is what I'm here for, but I thought since there's so much more to this package, I'm going to review pretty much all of it, like the brushes, the sponges, the setting powder, and the foundation as well. So yeah, let's get this started. Now normally I start off with a peach or orange color corrector to color correct my dark circles, but I want to show you guys how well this concealer covers up without using a color corrector. So I'm just going to start off with my foundation. I'm using the Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Foundation in the color 260. Now this is my color during the winter. During the summer I'm about a 270, but I've completely lost my tan and that makes me really sad. Now I have tried this foundation before and personally I am not a fan, solely because it is very matte and my skin is really dry, so I like to use something that's a little bit more dewy, or gives that more dewy finish. I feel that this just kind of dries out my skin way too much. So for people with dry skin, I wouldn't really recommend this, but people with oily skin, I would highly recommend this foundation because it does give you really nice coverage and keeps you matte like all day long. Now since I know this foundation gives a really dry coverage on my skin, I'm gonna go in with my Kiehl's Glow formula and I'm just gonna apply a pump of that into the foundation and mix it together so that it's not as like matte and it gives me a little bit more of a dewy finish and isn't as drying. And I'm just gonna go ahead and apply that all over my face. And for the foundation, I took about 2 pumps out. Now I'm gonna go ahead and blend it out with the Precision Makeup Sponge. I clearly got foundation all over it. I just want you guys to notice the flat edges on this sponge. I really like that about the sponge because it can help you get into like smaller places easily. So like for example in the corners of your eyes and stuff. And I'm just gonna go ahead and blend all of this out with the sponge. Okay, so I know this color looks slightly lighter than my skin tone, but this foundation does oxidize and you need to keep that in mind because otherwise if you go with something that looks exactly like your skin tone, you're gonna end up looking a little bit too orange and you don't want that. You can see that the coverage is really nice. It is a medium coverage that's buildable, so you can get a full coverage out of it. And you can see that dewiness in my skin due to the Glow formula, but I still find the foundation pretty drying. And just to give you guys some comparison swatches between the colors that they sent me, this one here is 260. This is the one I used. This is 280, 300, and 330. Now just to give you guys some comparison swatches of the concealers before I get into actually reviewing them, here is 260. This one is 280. Here we have 300. And then finally 330. So the way they launch these concealers is that they match the colors of the foundations. So you can pretty much pick up whatever color your foundation is in the concealer and know it's an exact match. Now that's a good and a bad thing because it makes it super easy for you to find your shade, but if you're someone like me who has dark circles or has like different types of problems with like hyperpigmentation, for example, using the exact same color doesn't necessarily always mean it'll cover it up well. And what I mean by that is sometimes that you need to go lighter or you need to go darker in your concealer in order to cover things up pretty nicely. So for me, for example, I use 260 on my face, but you can see that 260 still kind of leaves me looking gray under my eye area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be using 260 and 280 and mix them together to get the color that I want. I'm using 260 because it has a warm undertone, so it has a little bit more of a peachy color to it, which will help me color correct. And then 280 because my skin is a little bit more neutral and this has more neutral undertones to it. My skin is a little bit more olivey beige right now with the winter and losing my tan. Usually in the summer I have more of a yellow, like golden undertone. So yeah, in the summer I'd probably be using something that has a bit more of a like yellow golden undertone to it, but for now it will be 280 with the neutral undertones. So I'm going to start off by applying 260. Then I'm going to go ahead and mix it in with 280. And my bad from before, but I forgot to use the foundation brush to blend in my foundation to show you guys how it works. But I'm going to use the concealer brush and the sponge to show you guys the difference that it makes when you use a brush versus the sponge. So on this side I'm going to use the concealer brush. And I'm just swiping it and kind of going in circular motions and also stippling just to make sure that I don't get those streaky lines that I get from swiping. So you also want to make sure you pat it in. And then with the sponge, I'm going to be using the flat edge. And you're just gonna blend that in like so. So the brush did blend it in pretty well. I just prefer the sponge always over anything just because I feel like, I don't know, sponges just blend everything in so seamlessly. It almost like makes everything look airbrush, and I actually really do like this sponge compared to other sponges I've used. Like, I think it compares really well to my beauty blender, and I absolutely love my beauty blender. I've used other sponges in the past and they're always just a little bit too hard. This one I feel like is nice and soft, so it does blend everything in really nicely. Okay, I feel like these two colors made my eyes look gray. I'm going to try to go in with the 300 because the 300 has the warm undertone to it, and I'm going to try to warm it up using that. I think it was the 280. I should have gone with more of a warm color. Yeah, this is much better. Like, so much better. One thing I do have to suggest with this concealer is make sure you blend it out right away, otherwise it will dry and it'll be hard to blend. It's not as wet as other concealers is, it is a little bit more sticky, so yeah, make sure you blend it like right away. Okay, yeah, I should have used the 300 from before. I feel like this looks a lot more warm rather than gray, and it matches my skin tone better. Moving on, I'm going to be using the Retouch setting powder in the color Honey. This is a little bit too dark personally, but I'm going to use it around my eyes to warm up my eyes because I'm really not feeling how gray they're looking right now. I don't know if it's like the fact that the concealer doesn't give you a really full coverage, or the fact that I'm just not using the right colors, but I'm not a huge fan. I'm also really not a fan of the fact that it's like really dry. Again, I think it would be okay if you have oilier skin and your eyes are oily, but if you have dry skin like I do, I don't know, this isn't really for me. So I'm going to use one of their little precision sponges, and I'm going to apply this powder underneath my eyes to warm it up. Yeah, it's just slightly too dark for me, but that's okay. We can make that work. I feel like this is finally helping warm up my eyes a bit. Yes, that has helped warm up my eyes a lot actually. And I don't want this to set on my face like this because obviously it's super brown. So I'm just gonna rub it all off with the powder brush and blend it in like so, so that it actually blends in to my face. So since I don't have the color of my own skin tone in this setting powder, I'm gonna go ahead and set my face with my Maybelline Fit Me foundation. Oh my god, I put on so freaking much. And I'm gonna go over my eyes with it too, so it blends in nicely with my base. So I actually really do like this powder. The powder sets really, really nicely, and it gives you this really nice like filtered look. The only thing was that I did not use the right color for me, so I would probably go a shade or two lighter than this. For the powders, I would have used the shade Banana around my eyes and Cashew for the face. Banana would have given me that like brightening yellow type of look underneath my eyes, and Cashew would have given me like what this Maybelline Fit Me color kind of would have looked like. But yeah, I would recommend this. And another thing that I really like about this powder is the fact that it has this like little tab cap thing. So the powder doesn't go everywhere. It kind of just sits in there, and then you can kind of close it up. And so it doesn't get super messy. And you don't have like a whole bunch of product coming out at once, because I've had that happen to me with a lot of powders that are like this. So yeah, I really appreciate that of the packaging. I also really like this brush. I feel like it sets your face really, really nicely. It's super soft and it blends in the powder seamlessly. If you want more of a fuller airbrushed kind of look, especially around the eyes, I would suggest applying the powder with the sponge. This sponge was amazing, especially for its flat edge. It really could get in there, and it really packed it on nicely. I think I prefer it to be wet over dry. If you put it on dry, then it'll give you that fuller coverage, whereas if you put it on wet, it's a little bit more buildable, and I find it looks a little bit more airbrushed when you put it on, when you wet the sponge and then put on the powder. But yeah, I pretty much went through everything to cover my base. This is like the final look. I feel like the concealers are kind of a hit or miss for me. It depends on who's using it. For me, I found that I wasn't a huge fan of the coverage. I like a coverage that is like super full from my concealer, especially because of my dark circles. I found that this had more of a medium coverage, so if you are looking for something that's more of a medium coverage, I would suggest it. But for me personally, it didn't really pass the test just because of how heavy I like my concealer to be. I also do find the concealer slightly drying, so again, it's really not for me because my eyes are dry. It dries really, really fast, so you do need to make sure that you blend it in pretty much right away. Otherwise, it can get too patchy. Now, in terms of the colors, I think the colors are right. I just don't think I used the right colors for me, which is why I was getting that grayish kind of tone to it. I think I would have, I think if I had used the 260 with the 300 right away instead of including the 280, it would have looked a little bit better, but I don't know, that was my bad. But I feel like they do have a really good shade range in colors. But what I would be careful with is the fact that they do have colors that match their foundations. Like I mentioned before, that is a good and bad thing. It's easier to find your color if you pretty much aren't looking for a heavy coverage and aren't trying to color correct things. But if you are trying to color correct things, then it can get kind of confusing, and matching the exact same color as your foundation won't always result in the best color for you. As you guys saw with me, when I put 260 on, it was just like too light, and it ended up making my eyes look even more gray, which is why I had to mix it in with something that was a little bit darker and warmer like the 300. Now with the foundation, I kind of already gave you guys my 2 cents about that. It is pretty drying. If you have oily skin, I would highly recommend it. As you can see now though, it matches my skin tone, whereas before when I applied it, it looked a little bit too light, but it does oxidize as I had mentioned before. So now it is like really pretty much the same color as my skin. During the summer, I'm I think about a 270, 280 in and around there. I would suggest it for people with oily skin, but if you don't, then I would kind of stay away from it. But yeah, that's my little review on the concealer, foundation, setting powder, sponges, brushes, all that good stuff. Now that I gave you guys my little review, I'm just gonna throw on the rest of my makeup and I will be right back. Alright guys, so this is the final look. The reason I wanted to throw some makeup on was to test out how well my makeup sat on top of the foundation and the concealer, and I think that it sat on top of it really, really well. Nothing looked patchy, so I'm super happy about that. Anyways, that's all I have for you guys today. I really hope you guys enjoyed this review, and if you did, please do not forget to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. If you have any questions, feel free to leave it down in the comments below. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. I really, really appreciate all the love and support you constantly show me, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!